Hello everyone, welcome to StraightA. Dawson here, back with another video here today, and we are talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Everybody loves a good Viking, don't they? I look like a Viking, you look like a Viking, everybody looks like a Viking. I don't know where that came from, but we're going to go roll with it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like down below if you do, subscribe to the channel if you do, and comment any suggestions for future videos below. Even if you don't, a lot of you guys can say very hurtful things, but that's alright. I love them anyway because I love you, and I love the critiques you give me because it makes me better. Let's get right into the video. So, Minnesota Vikings. They are a complicated bunch because, well, they got J.J. McCarthy, they got Sam Darnold, and they got Nick Mullins, because Nick Mullins is a guy who could actually maybe start on this team. Depends on how you look at each of these players. J.J. McCarthy was obviously, I think, the fifth quarterback taken off the board. I can't remember exactly, to be honest with you. I'm not going to check. But Sam Darnold, a guy who has seen varying levels of success, and I mean varying levels in the mediocre to low category. Then Nick Mullins is pretty much just a non-factor, only if the other two just suck really bad. But no, seriously, J.J. McCarthy was seen as one of the players that is not really the high, touted prospect. Of course, it was Caleb Williamson, it was Jaden Daniels, and it was Drake May. All seen as really big competitive guys for some really good spots in the draft. Then you got Michael Penix, you got J.J. McCarthy, and you got Bo Nix. Those three were kind of seen as the last other three that could maybe do something, but probably just be mediocre. And J.J. McCarthy is the one I am the biggest critic on, because I'm very, very skeptical by the hype that he was gained from the latter half of the season. But I am still optimistic. I always like seeing rookie QBs do well, because that means everybody does well and everybody gets hype and everything comes a little bit more interesting. So I do think he's going to take the job from Sam Darnold, because I don't think Sam Darnold's anything special. I think he's regressed very, very much so. I don't think he has improved at all. I think he's shown flashes, but that's about it. He's going to should be a backup quarterback for the rest of his career. Granted, he's way better at football than I'll ever be, so just mind that when I'm critiquing him. So they're going to split. They're probably going to have half a season. That's just kind of how it goes. The Vikings are going to see whether they have something in Sam Darnold, let J.J. McCarthy sit by a little bit, and throw him in there, and I think J.J. McCarthy will do fine. He'll probably throw for almost even touchdowns to interceptions, whatever. And he'll probably won't throw for 3,000 yards or anything, because I don't think they'll have enough time for either one of them to throw for 3,000 yards. So but we're going to start off with that. All right, together they might throw for 4,000 yards. All right, that's kind of to get that out of the way. That's my prediction for that. You got Aaron Jones. I love Aaron Jones. I really do. He's a good guy. He seems like a guy, at least. I liked him the Packers. Now he's on the Vikings. Needless to say, he's downgraded on team. And needless to say that he's not as young as he used to be. Obviously, he's coming off a season where he had a lot of injury, and he's just not as mobile as he used to be. Can he still truck through some guys like a motherfucker? Oh, yeah. Ty Chandler's behind him. He's nothing special. Myles Gaskin's nothing special. Nobody on this run game is anything special. Aaron Jones will still be the guy, and so he'll get volume, and as long as a healthy season's ahead of him, he'll do fine. He'll get some end zone. He'll get in the end zone a couple times. That's about it. But this team's probably not going to be running the ball a whole lot, because they're probably going to be playing from behind. That's just needless to say what that's going to happen. Plus, obviously, when we look at the receivers, they have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison has proven himself to be at the very least, to be a very competent second receiver. Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the league. As we saw with Davante Adams going to the Raiders, we know what happens to great receivers that go to quarterbacks that aren't necessarily the best. And as a result, I don't think Justin Jefferson will have an excellent season. Now, excellent for Justin Jefferson at this point is 1,300 plus, basically. That's a little bit of exaggeration, but you get it. He will get over 1,000 yards. Davante Adams easily did that. Justin Jefferson will, because he's going to be the main guy on this team to throw to. Go figure. Jordan Addison, he'll get some of the love, but unfortunately, he'll have to suffer a little bit in this offense. Then you got a bunch of other grocery store kind of guys. Brandon Powell, Trent Sherfield Sr., etc., etc. Nobody's going to be too special on this team. Then we got the tight end, T.J. Hawkinson, and then you got Josh Oliver behind him, I guess, but that's nothing special. Hawkinson more than likely will not play for more than half the season. As a result, he's probably not going to get the yards. He might get some end zone touches, but it's hard for me to predict because I don't know when he's coming back. Same with kind of Nick Chubb. That's kind of goes back to that whole spiel of I didn't give him a very high grade because I don't know when he's going to be back. And looking at this O-line is very, very reliable. And this is why I think that Aaron Jones does have a good chance at being good. I am very skeptical about this O-line. On paper, this is one of my favorite O-lines in the league. It really is. But they just have not produced the results they have in the past. Their coaching staff is mediocre at best. And as we just saw the progression of this team throughout the last season, even especially with Kirk Cousins going down, I just don't have very high optimism for this team doing extremely well this next season. Now, where I will concede, where my stat predictions will be different, is I do think the O-line has very good potential to be good, as in for either Aaron Jones or for just keeping the quarterback protected. I'm not going to stake my life on it, though. Looking at defense, they're fine. Again, it's kind of the tale of they're fine. Harrison Phillips, I like. Jonathan Grenard, fine. Andrew Van Ginkel, fine. All these guys are very suitable, very fine, and are going to be able to be a competent defense as long as everybody stays healthy. Then you got the secondary. I like the secondary a little bit. I like Byron Murphy. I think he can actually kind of probably get some of those numbers up for interceptions. I think Harrison Smith will do that as well. I think Shaquille Griffin could easily do that. The secondary is probably one of the better aspects of their team outside of, like, Justin Jefferson. So this team is very, very weird in that regard. Looking at the stats, obviously, this is one of the teams I really cannot now analyze the stats too much. But Kirk Cousins, half a season, 2,300 yards. Funny enough, that's why I think, I think both these quarterbacks in half a season will throw for like 400, 500 less than that. And so they'll run about 3,800. Touchdowns, they could be whatever. Interceptions will be high. Sacks will be somewhat in the middle ground, probably because also the quarterback will probably be holding the ball for a while. That's also another reason why I'm not going to stake my life on the O-line being great. Outside of that, the rushing yards, even last year, granted, they only had Alexander Madison, who is not that good, while Aaron Jones is significantly better than him, so that's why I think Aaron Jones has a chance to be good, but will they be running the ball a whole lot? I'm not too sure. Ty Chandler will take some of the touches away, but not all, obviously. We'll see. I'm not even going to look at some of the other stuff because it's all pretty not very useful to look at. I'm going to show you Sam Darnold's seasons. He's gone from 3,000 yards all the way down to 1,100. Now, obviously, we'll count the 12-plus as his main seasons, these guys right here. He's been consistently under 3, pretty much, except for one good season he had 24 more. Congratulations. So I think guessing that Sam Darnold, since he's the projected starter, and he more than likely will start game 1, J.J. McCarthy will be the starter by the end of the season. Let that be known. I just don't think he'll even last long enough to get probably more than 2,500. It's going to be really hard for him to stay in there unless he has a really, really, really excellent season. Looking at Aaron Jones now, he is one of the guys. Again, I like him. Look at his stat lines. He's so good. Again, he's not a big yardage guy, but man, his touchdowns can be good, as we see from his 2019 and 2020 stats. Ever since then, though, he's a shell of him for himself. Even when his last good season, he had 2 rushing touchdowns and 1,100 yards. He's not a yardage guy, and we clearly saw this last season. Now, granted, he only played 11 games in 142 carries for 656 yards. Is that pretty good? That's pretty all right. Now, I can't lie to you about that, but I just think the best of him is behind him. Probably won't see a very productive season from him in that regard. But let's get into the stats and we'll talk a little bit more about it. So, Minnesota Vikings, go and get it over with. Sam Darnold, I'm just throwing this out here. 2,100 yards, 8 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He'll get a rushing touchdown in. He'll probably rush for about 100 yards or so. He might be able to throw for some more passing touchdowns, especially if I project him for about half a season. Maybe like 11 to 13 or 12 to 14, something along those lines. I'm not really caring too much about this prediction, to be honest with you. But sure, 8 to 12 passing touchdowns and 11 to 14 interceptions. That's my reasonable projection, depending on how long Sam Darnold starts. Again, it's really hard for some of these quarterbacks I don't think are going to start the whole season. So, J.J. McCarthy, pretty similar. He'll have higher passing touchdowns and probably maybe 2 more, one more rushing touchdown. Not too sure. He'll be somewhere in the middle of that. And then he'll have not a safe amount, but he'll have a decent amount of interceptions. Aaron Jones, I do think he'll get more than, the glump of people that's at under 800 yards. He'll get like 880. He'll still rush for about 6, I think. I still think he's going to be the goal line guy. Despite this team not having good tendency to run the ball in the end zone, I think this O-line is going to be very, very good, and I think they're going to want to utilize it when they do get within 10, 5 yards. Now, how often are they going to do that? Probably not very often, but 6 rushing touchdowns I think is pretty fair. He can still break off one for a decent amount of yardage, so Aaron Jones for about 6 rushing touchdowns. I debated on 5. I want to give some respect to him, though, so 5 to 6 is really my prediction, but 6 yards is my go. Then we got the receiving core. T.J. Hawkinson, let's go start with that. Less than 700 yards. He's not going to play a whole lot. I'm going to be honest with you guys, all right? I know it sucks. He's going to get 2 receiving touchdowns, and that's probably generous myself. Jordan Addison, again, he's not eating too much because, again, Jay Jetta is going to be the guy eating on this team, and quite frankly, there's not a whole lot of crumbs to pass around. He'll get 705, 720, something like that yardage. And he'll still get a little bit decent 11 to 6 receiving touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, I think, is just so fucking good that he's going to make 10 receiving touchdowns work. I debated on 8. I debated on 9. I finally rise up to 10 because I said, this is fucking Jay Jettas. He's going to make something work. He's going to make nothing work, basically. 1,100 yards. I think he's going to barely skim that, though. I will say. I debated on putting him in 1,000. It's Jay Jettas, though, so put some fucking respect on his name. 1,100 yards. Next up, O-line, 40 to 50. This is pretty midline. Again, I think this team has a quarterback issue, and I think that I still see some problems with the O-line just because of how many sacks they've let up in the past. When you don't have a good team around you, you end up having to hold the blocks longer, and you just end up allowing more sacks. Simple. Sack prediction, 35 to 39. Again, pretty mid-level. I don't have any big, like, oh, they're going to go 70-plus sacks. No, they're going to go about 36. That's what they've done in the past. Probably a little bit, or actually a little bit less. They've gone about 41, 42 in the past. I just don't see very much special from this D-line, so I'm going a little bit less. 14 to 16 interceptions. Again, pretty middle of the road, but a little bit on the higher end, I believe. The secondary is pretty damn good. I have some hope in it. I think it'll be one of the things kind of leading this defense. Now, granted, I think they'll barely scratch the 14. Maybe they can get 15. I don't necessarily see the high road of this range, but I can see 14 to 15. Next, their schedule. And, man, when I looked at the schedule, I kind of just went through, wow, they're losing a lot of games. Because, well, damn. Okay, first of all, New York Giants, you can win that. It's 1-0. Pretty good. San Francisco, you lose that. Texans, you lose that. Packers, let's talk about division. They could realistically go 1-5. Let that be known. I think they could realistically be swept by 2 of their teams in their division. I'm going to give them 2-4. Because, again, it's division, and unless I really think you fucking suck, I'm not going to give you 1-5 or 0-6. So it's hard to predict. So I'll give you 2-4. So right now you got 3 wins, 3-6. Jets, you lose 3-7. Rams, you lose 3-8. Colts, you more likely lose 3-9. Jacksonville, 3-10. You can maybe win one of these games, so I'll give you 4-9. Tennessee, you can possibly win that. I'll give you that, 5-9. You could probably win against Cardinals, 6-9. You probably lose against the Falcons, 6-10. Probably lose against the Seahawks, 6-11. And I felt like I was generous giving the wins because in a high road, I give you 6 wins. However, I really think you're closer to 5. 4 is probably 5 is pretty much right on. I would give you 5 and 12. 4 is what I'm leaning more than 6, but I'll give you 6 to be generous. I just don't think you can win very many games this season. So 5 and 12 is my record for the Minnesota Vikings for the 2024-2025 season. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the next one.